Before we dive into a story that will challenge everything you think about ambition and love, make sure you've subscribed to our channel and hit that notification bell. You won't want to miss the shocking twists in Marcus and Sarah's journey. Have you ever faced a choice between your biggest dream and the person you love most? Get ready to ask yourself that question. The cramped dorm room felt smaller than ever as Marcus Sterling stared at his phone, watching another investor meeting confirmation come through. 3 laptops, 2 monitors, and countless energy drink cans surrounded him like a fortress against the outside world. His startup, Connect Solutions, was so close to breaking through he could almost taste it. "You're going to burn out before you even get there," Sarah Hayes said from the doorway, holding 2 cups of coffee. Her warm brown eyes held a mixture of love and concern that made Marcus's chest tighten. "This is it, Sarah. Vanguard Ventures wants to meet. $50 million. Do you know what that means?" Marcus stood, running his hands through his dark hair. "We could change everything. Social media analytics, but smarter, more intuitive." "I know." Sarah set the coffee down on his cluttered desk, carefully avoiding the scattered business plans. "I just miss you. When was the last time we went somewhere that wasn't this room or the library?" Marcus pulled her into his arms, breathing in the scent of her shampoo. For a moment, the stress melted away. "After this meeting, I promise we'll go anywhere you want. Those amazing taco trucks by the river in Brooklyn." "Absolutely." 3 weeks later, they sat at their favorite Mexican food truck, the sunset painting the Brooklyn Bridge in brilliant oranges and pinks. Sarah picked at her fish taco, unusually quiet. "The meeting went incredible," Marcus said, unable to contain his excitement. "They're serious about the funding. We're talking about scaling nationally within 6 months." "Marcus." Sarah's voice was soft, almost lost in the city hum. "What's wrong?" He reached for her hand, noticing how cold her fingers were. Sarah looked up at him, tears threatening to spill over. "I'm pregnant." The words hit him like a physical blow. His fork clattered to the ground. "You're what?" "I found out yesterday. I wanted to be sure before." "No." Marcus stood up, pacing beside the picnic table. No, Sarah. The timing is impossible. I'm about to close the biggest deal of my life. I can't." "Can't what?" She stood too, her voice rising. "Can't be a father? Can't handle having a family? Not now, not when everything is finally happening. Do you know how long I've worked for this? How many people depend on me now?" He gestured wildly, his voice breaking. "I have 12 employees, Sarah. Investors watching my every move. I can't split my focus." Tears streamed down her face. "I'm not asking you to quit. I'm asking you to choose us. It's not that simple." "It is exactly that simple." Sarah wiped her eyes, straightening her shoulders. "I've been accepted to Cambridge. Full scholarship for their English literature PhD program. They want me there next month." Marcus felt the world tilt. "What?" "Professor Davies recommended me. I applied ages ago, never thinking I'd get in." She took a shaky breath. "I'm giving you a choice, Marcus. Come with me to England. We'll figure it out together. Build our family there or what? Or admit that your company means more to you than we do." Marcus stared at her, his mind racing. Cambridge, England. Thousands of miles from New York, from his investors, from everything he'd built. "Sarah, be reasonable. I can't just drop everything and move to England. The company will die without me. And what about us? What about our baby? I can't do both, Sarah. Not now." The words tasted like ash in his mouth. "Ask me to wait 2 years. Ask me to support you from here, but don't ask me to choose between my life's work and your family." She stepped back as if he'd slapped her. "That's exactly what you're doing. Sarah, please. You know I love you, but this is my shot. Our shot at financial security. Think about what this means for our future." "I'm thinking about our future. About our child's future." She gathered her purse, her movements sharp and decisive. "You've already chosen, haven't you? You just don't want to say it." Marcus watched her walk away, every fiber of his being screaming to follow her. But his phone buzzed. Another email from investors. Another meeting to schedule. He looked down at the screen, then back at Sarah's retreating figure. By the time he looked up, she was gone. The next morning, Marcus stood in Sarah's empty dorm room, her goodbye note crumpled in his hand. She'd left in the night, taking only what she could carry. The note was brief. Take care of yourself, Marcus. I hope your dreams are worth it. He sank onto her bare mattress, the silence deafening. His phone rang. The Vanguard meeting was in 2 hours. The biggest opportunity of his life was waiting. Marcus Sterling dressed in his best suit and headed to the meeting that would change everything. But as he shook hands with investors and discussed market projections, all he could think about was the family he'd lost. The pregnancy announcement that should have been the happiest moment of his life had become the day he chose ambition over love. And deep down, Marcus knew this was the choice that would haunt him forever. If you were Marcus, what would your choice have been? Was there a right answer? Share your thoughts below. 10 years later, the panoramic views from Marcus Sterling's penthouse office should have felt like victory. New York City spread out below him like a conquered territory, the Hudson River glittering in the morning sunlight. Connect Solutions logo adorned buildings throughout the city, a testament to his vision. At 38, he was worth $2 billion, featured on every major business magazine, and consulted by world leaders. So why did he feel so empty? Marcus stood at his floor-to-ceiling windows, holding his third espresso of the day. Behind him, monitors displayed real-time analytics of social media trends across continents. His empire was thriving, but his penthouse apartment felt like a beautiful prison. Mr. Sterling? His assistant's voice came through the intercom. The board meeting has been moved to 10, and you have 3 interview requests from Forbes, TechCrunch, and the Wall Street Journal. Cancel them all, Rebecca. I'm flying to New York for a site visit. A pause. Sir, you are in New York. Marcus closed his eyes. I meant never mind. Push everything to tomorrow. He walked to his desk, past photos of him ringing the NYSE bell, shaking hands with tech giants, receiving awards. No family photos, no pictures of children or significant others. Just an empire built on the ashes of personal happiness. 3,000 miles away, in a cozy cottage outside Cambridge, England, Sarah Hayes closed her laptop and stretched. Her latest children's book, The Whispering Library, was due to her publisher by week's end. The story followed a young boy searching for his father through enchanted books, and Sarah couldn't help but pour her own heart into every word. Mummy, I need help with my maths homework, called 9-year-old Emma from the kitchen. Sarah smiled, the sound of her daughter's voice chasing away the creative fatigue. Emma had her father's piercing blue eyes and insatiable curiosity, though she'd never know it. Coming, love. Emma sat at their worn kitchen table, textbooks spread around her like fallen leaves, her dark hair catching the light, and Sarah's heart clenched at how much she resembled Marcus. It's about probability, Emma said, chewing her pencil. Here, if someone disappears from your life, what's the probability they'll come back? Sarah nearly dropped her tea mug. That's not a maths question, sweetheart, but I've been thinking about it. Emma's eyes, so much like her father's, were serious beyond her years. You always say Daddy died in an accident, but Mrs. Henderson's dad came back after 5 years. He wasn't dead, just went away. Sarah sat down carefully. Emma, we've talked about this. I know, but I found your old photos, the ones you thought were hidden. He looks happy with you. Why would someone that happy just leave and die? Smart girl, too smart. Sometimes life is complicated. I'm 9, not 5. I understand complicated. Sarah looked at her daughter, brilliant, curious, carrying her father's eyes and none of his selfishness. Your father made choices that took him away from us. That's all you need to know. Emma nodded, but her expression suggested she wasn't satisfied. Can we go to the big bookstore tomorrow? The one with the cafe? Of course. If you're gripped by this story, give us a like and tell us what you think Emma will discover next. Your support keeps these emotional narratives coming. Back in New York, Marcus walked aimlessly through the West Village. His driver waited at the car, probably confused why a billionaire wanted to wander these streets. But something drew him here, to the neighborhood where he and Sarah used to explore. A small bookstore caught his eye. The quiet corner. Books displayed in the window showed colorful covers of children's stories, including one by an author named S.L. Hayes. Something about the name tugged at his memory. He pushed open the door, a bell chiming overhead. The smell of old books and coffee wrapped around him like a hug from another lifetime. "Welcome." An elderly Asian woman emerged from behind the counter. "I'm Mrs. Lee. Looking for anything special? Just browse." Marcus wandered toward the children's section, drawn by a display featuring S.L. Hayes books. He picked up The Lost Star, reading the back cover. A story about a father and son separated by pride and misunderstanding, reunited through love and forgiveness. The writing was beautiful, lyrical, yet simple. Something about the style felt familiar, like a half-remembered song. He opened to a random page. Some distances aren't measured in miles, but in time wasted, words unspoken, and chances not taken. The longest journeys are often back to the places and people we should never have left. Marcus's hands trembled. He'd read these exact words somewhere before, in a voice he knew by heart. Setting the book back carefully, he looked around the cozy store. Children sprawled on beanbags, reading. Parents browsed quietly, and everything felt warm and alive in a way his sterile apartment never could. His phone buzzed. 3 missed calls, 12 emails, all urgent. The outside world demanded his attention, as always. But for the first time in 10 years, Marcus silenced his phone and picked up another book by S.L. Hayes. If he looked closer at that author photo, if he really studied the eyes behind the professional smile, he might have recognized the girl he'd fallen in love with at NYU. But Marcus Sterling, billionaire tech mogul, was no longer practiced at seeing what was right in front of him. He was, however, about to learn that some stories demand their ending, whether you're ready or not. Marcus wandered deeper into the bookstore, gravitating toward a reading nook where children's voices mingled with turning pages. A mother read to her toddler in one corner, while older kids sprawled on colorful rugs, lost in their own adventures. He stopped at a shelf labeled New Arrivals and picked up another S.L. Hayes book, When Daddy Lives in Stories. The dedication read, "For Emma, who keeps asking the right questions." Beautiful writing, isn't it, sir? Mrs. Lee appeared beside him, her eyes twinkling with something Marcus couldn't quite identify. "That author comes from England. Very talented, though I suspect there's more story behind her stories, if you know what I mean." Before Marcus could respond, a laugh echoed through the store, bright, musical, achingly familiar. His head snapped up and his heart stopped. Sarah Hayes stood near the picture books, her honey-brown hair catching the afternoon light. She wore a simple blue sweater and jeans, looking exactly as beautiful as she had 10 years ago. But it was the child beside her that made Marcus's world tilt. The girl was probably 9 or 10, with long dark hair and the most striking blue eyes Marcus had ever seen. She held a book about coding for kids, her expression intense as she flipped through pages of colorful diagrams. "Mummy, this one explains algorithms so simply. Can we get it?" The child's accent was distinctly British, but something about her voice. Sarah glanced over, and their eyes met across the bookstore. Time stopped. Sarah went pale, her hand immediately moving to rest protectively on the girl's shoulder. Marcus stood frozen, clutching the S.L. Hayes book so tightly his knuckles went white. "Mummy, you look like you've seen a ghost." The girl followed Sarah's gaze and spotted Marcus. Her eyes, his eyes, widened with curiosity rather than recognition. Sarah recovered first, her journalist training kicking in. "I'm fine, sweetheart. Why don't you keep looking? I'll be right back." She walked over to Marcus, each step deliberate. When they stood face to face, she spoke quietly. "Hello, Marcus." "Sarah." His voice came out as a croak. What are you doing here?" "Visiting New York. This is Emma." Sarah's eyes flicked to her daughter, then back to Marcus. "My daughter." Marcus did quick math in his head. The timing, the eyes, the way Emma held herself with a confidence that reminded him painfully of himself at that age. His legs felt weak. "She's beautiful," he managed. Emma, apparently finished with her book browse, bounced over to them. "Mummy, this man has the same phone as the kids in my coding class. Is that the new Connect Solutions app?" Marcus nearly dropped his phone as Emma peered at the screen with obvious technical knowledge. "You know about Connect Solutions?" he asked, crouching to her eye level. "Of course. We learned about it in digital literacy class. The founder created this amazing algorithm that predicts social trends." Emma's face lit up. "I want to build something like that someday, but for books. An app that helps kids find stories based on their emotions." Sarah and Marcus exchanged loaded glances. Emma had his analytical mind, his curiosity about systems and patterns. That's a brilliant idea," Marcus said genuinely. "Emma, love, we should go," Sarah interrupted, her voice tight. "But I haven't shown him my story idea. I'm writing about a girl who uses code to solve mysteries." Emma looked between them, her intelligence clearly processing the sudden tension. "Do you two know each other?" Mrs. Lee materialized as if from thin air. "Emma, dear, you're back. I've been saving that new graphic novel about young inventors. Want to see it?" Emma hesitated, sensing something important was happening but unable to identify what. "I suppose." "Excellent. Your mother and this gentleman can chat while we find it." Mrs. Lee winked at Marcus before leading Emma away. The moment they were alone, Sarah's composure cracked. "You can't be here. I had no idea you were. I live in England now. We're just visiting. We leave tomorrow." "Sarah, please, let me—" "No." Her voice was fierce, protective. "You made your choice 10 years ago. Don't you dare waltz back into our lives now." "Our lives?" The words slipped out before he could stop them. "She's mine, isn't she?" Sarah's silence was answer enough. Marcus felt the world restructure itself around this truth. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I tried." Sarah's eyes blazed. "I called your office a dozen times those first few months. Your assistant said you were too busy to take personal calls, that you'd made it clear you didn't want contact. I never said that. I never even knew you called." "Mummy?" Emma's voice called from across the store. "Mrs. Lee is showing me the most amazing book about a time-traveling librarian." Sarah wiped her eyes quickly. "I have to go." "Wait." Marcus grabbed her arm gently. "Please, can we talk? Really talk. We're staying at the Grand Hotel through tomorrow. Room 612. She paused, studying his face. 1 hour. If you want answers, meet me in the lobby cafe at 7 tonight. Come alone." She walked away, leaving Marcus standing among the children's books, his entire world rewritten in a single afternoon. He looked down at the S.L. Hayes book still in his hands and finally understood why the initials seemed familiar. Sarah Louise Hayes. The woman he'd lost had become a successful author. They had a daughter who loved books and coding, who had his eyes and Sarah's heart. Mrs. Lee approached, her expression knowing. "That little one comes in here every time they visit the city, always asks about books with fathers who come home." Marcus's throat burned. "How often do they visit?" "Just once a year. But she lights up this whole store." Mrs. Lee patted his arm. "Some stories take time to find their proper ending, dear. Perhaps tonight you'll learn whether yours has a second chapter." As Marcus left the bookstore, he glimpsed Sarah loading Emma into a taxi. Emma waved at him through the window, her smile brightening her whole face. She didn't know he was her father, but she'd waved anyway, with all the openness of childhood. 7 o'clock couldn't come fast enough. Imagine you're Marcus. How would you approach this conversation? What would you say to Sarah? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe for the breathtaking continuation. The Grand Hotel's lobby cafe hummed with quiet conversation and clinking teacups. Marcus arrived 15 minutes early, choosing a corner table where he could watch for Sarah. He'd changed clothes 3 times, unsure what seemed appropriate for confronting the biggest mistake of his life. Sarah appeared precisely at 7, her shoulders set with determination. She changed into a simple black dress that made her look older, more guarded than the college girl he'd known. "You came," she said, sliding into the chair across from him. Of course I came. Marcus's hands fidgeted with his coffee cup. Sarah, about what happened earlier. Your daughter, she interrupted, asked me why the nice man at the bookstore looked so sad. The words hit him like physical blows. She noticed. Emma notices everything. She's gifted, you know, top of her class in maths and science. But she writes poetry that makes her teachers cry. Sarah's voice carried fierce maternal pride. She's brilliant. Like her mother. Like both her parents, actually. Sarah met his eyes steadily. She has your analytical mind, your hunger for knowledge. She sees patterns in everything. Marcus swallowed hard. Why didn't you tell me about her? Sarah's composure cracked. Tell you? I tried to tell you. After I left NYU, I called your office every week for 3 months. Rebecca, your assistant, finally told me quite clearly that you were focused on your company and didn't want personal distractions. Rebecca never told me about any calls. Of course she didn't, because you'd made it clear I was just a distraction. Tears threatened, but Sarah kept her voice steady. I was alone in a foreign country, pregnant, starting a PhD program. You'd chosen your path, so I chose mine. Sarah. Marcus reached across the table, but she pulled back. Do you want to know what happened next? I worked through morning sickness while writing my dissertation. Emma was born during exam week. I gave birth between papers on Victorian literature. She laughed bitterly. I graduated summa cum laude with a 3-month-old baby, because I had no choice, no family help, no partner, just me and her. Marcus felt sick. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't give her father back. Sorry doesn't make up for every birthday, every Christmas. Every night she asked why other kids had daddies and she didn't. What did you tell her about me? I told her you were brilliant and driven, that you died in an accident when she was a baby. Sarah's voice broke slightly. It seemed kinder than the truth. Marcus recoiled. You told her I was dead? What was I supposed to say? That her father cared more about money than his own child? Before Marcus could respond, a familiar voice called out, Sarah. They both turned to see a young man approaching their table. Late 20s, athletic build, warm brown eyes. Sarah's face lit up with genuine happiness. David, what are you doing here? Surprise visit. I'm starting that new job at NYU Medical next week. Remember? David kissed Sarah's cheek, then noticed Marcus. His expression shifted instantly. Well, Marcus Sterling. The temperature at the table dropped 10 degrees. David. Marcus stood, extending his hand. Good to see you. David ignored the handshake. Is it? Because I distinctly remember you breaking my sister's heart so thoroughly, she cried herself to sleep for months. David, please, Sarah intervened. No, Sarah. This man, David practically spat the word, destroyed your life. Do you remember calling me from Cambridge? Sobbing because you couldn't afford groceries and Emma was sick. Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. Sarah, why didn't you? Call you? Oh, that's rich. David laughed harshly. She tried. Your people made it very clear you wanted nothing to do with her or your obligations. That's not true. I never. It doesn't matter now, Sarah said firmly. David, please sit down. David reluctantly took a chair, his protective energy radiating towards Sarah. How's Emma doing with this news? She doesn't know yet, Sarah admitted. Know what? David's eyes widened. You mean she doesn't know he's her father walked away 10 years ago? Sarah cut him off. Emma has a good life. We're flying home tomorrow. No. The word escaped Marcus before he could stop it. Both siblings stared at him. Please don't take her away again. Not when I just found out she exists. Found out. David's voice rose. How? You had every opportunity to know. You chose not to. I made a terrible mistake, Marcus said desperately. The worst mistake of my life. But I didn't know about Emma. Sarah, you have to believe me. I would never have abandoned my child knowingly. Sarah studied his face, searching for deception. You really didn't know about the calls? I swear to you I didn't. After you left, I threw myself into work. Rebecca handled all my communications. She probably thought she was protecting me from distractions. Protecting you? David scoffed. What about protecting Sarah? She was 19, pregnant, and alone. I know. Marcus's voice cracked. I know, and I'll spend the rest of my life regretting it. But please don't take Emma away again. Let me try to make this right. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Finally, she spoke. Emma wants to go to the Children's Discovery Museum tomorrow before our flight. You can come with us. But Marcus. Her eyes were steel. You hurt her in any way, and you'll never see either of us again. Marcus nodded eagerly. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. David shook his head in disgust. Just like that? He shows up after 10 years and you forgive him? I'm not forgiving anything, Sarah said quietly. But Emma deserves to know her father, even if he doesn't deserve to know her. As Sarah and David left, Marcus sat alone with his coffee growing cold. Tomorrow he would spend time with his daughter, the daughter who thought he was dead, the daughter who had his eyes and his curiosity, the daughter who might never forgive him once she learned the truth. But at least he had a chance. After 10 years of emptiness, Marcus Sterling finally had something more valuable than all his billions. A second chance at family. He just prayed he wouldn't waste it again. What do you think of Sarah's decision to let Marcus meet Emma? Is it fair? Would you have done the same? Comment your thoughts below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to follow this family's complex journey. The Children's Discovery Museum buzzed with the excited energy of dozens of children. Emma practically vibrated with excitement as they entered, her eyes taking in the interactive displays and hands-on exhibits. Look, Mummy. They have a robotics workshop and a coding station. Can we do everything? Emma grabbed Sarah's hand. Marcus watched his daughter with wonder. Every expression, every gesture revealed new layers of her personality. Her enthusiasm reminded him of himself at that age. But her consideration for others was pure Sarah. We have 3 hours before we need to leave for the airport, Sarah said gently. Emma's face fell slightly. Right? Home to Cambridge tomorrow. She looked up at Marcus. Do you have children, mister? Marcus, he said quickly. And no, I don't have children. The lie tasted bitter, but what else could he say? Sarah shot him a grateful look. They spent the morning moving through exhibits. Emma explained coding concepts to Marcus with patient enthusiasm, while he helped her build elaborate structures at the engineering station. Sarah watched from nearby, her expression unreadable. During lunch at the museum cafe, Emma grew thoughtful. Mummy, you seem sad today. Just a bit tired, love. Is it because we met Marcus yesterday? You got that same look you get when Mr. Davies talks about his wife who died. Sarah choked on her coffee. Marcus reached for napkins, his hand briefly touching Sarah's. The contact sent electricity through both of them. I'm fine, sweetheart, Sarah managed. Emma's penetrating gaze shifted between them. You two act like you know each other better than just meeting yesterday. Before either adult could respond, Marcus's phone rang. He glanced at the screen and paled. I have to take this. Excuse me. He stepped away, and Emma immediately scooted closer to Sarah. Mummy, he has the same eyes as me. Sarah's heart stopped. Emma, I'm not stupid. I've been thinking about it all night. Emma's voice dropped to a whisper. He's my father, isn't he? My real father. Not dead like you said. Tears sprang to Sarah's eyes. Emma, it explains everything. Why you looked so shocked yesterday. Why he looks at me like he's seeing a ghost. Why you never want to talk about Daddy. Emma's voice hardened. Why you lied to me. I was trying to protect you. From what? From having a father who's alive. Sarah opened her mouth to respond, but Marcus's raised voice cut through the cafe noise. What do you mean I'm being replaced? I built this company. He was across the room, but his agitation was clear. You can't just, what board meeting? I'm in New York. Emma watched him with growing understanding. He didn't know about me, did he? Sarah stared at her brilliant daughter. How did you? Because if he knew and still left, he's a monster. But if he didn't know, then someone kept us apart. Emma's eyes blazed with anger, remarkably similar to her father's. Who kept us apart, Mummy? Marcus returned, looking devastated. I'm sorry, I have to go. There's a board meeting. Of course there is, Sarah said bitterly. Back to the company again. Sarah, it's not like that. They're trying to remove me as CEO. If I don't fight this, you'll lose your position. Your money. Sarah stood, gathering her purse. Just like 10 years ago, when push comes to shove, you choose work. Mummy. Emma's voice was deadly quiet. Tell me the truth. Now. Both adults looked at the 9-year-old girl, whose mature expression demanded honesty. Emma. Let's discuss this at home. No. Emma stood on her chair. I want to know why my father abandoned me. I want to know why you lied. And I want to know why he's choosing work over me again, right now. The cafe went quiet. Other families stared as Emma's voice carried across the room. Marcus sank into his chair, ending the call. Emma, I never abandoned you. I didn't know you existed until yesterday. But you abandoned Mummy when she was pregnant. Yes. His voice was barely audible. I did. Why? Marcus looked helplessly at Sarah, who nodded slightly. Because I was scared. Because I thought my work was more important than anything else in the world. And now, Emma's eyes filled with tears. Now you have another meeting that's more important than me. No, it's not. Marcus made a decision that surprised everyone, including himself. He turned off his phone completely. There is nothing more important than you, Sarah gasped. Marcus, your company can survive without me. He looked at Emma, then at Sarah. I lost 10 years because I chose wrong. I won't make that mistake again. Emma studied his face intently. Finally, she spoke. Prove it. Marcus blinked. What? You say you choose us now? Prove it. Don't go to that meeting. Stay here. Help me finish my robot. Emma's chin jutted forward stubbornly. Actions matter more than words. Marcus looked at his daughter. Really looked at her. 9 years of birthdays he'd missed. 9 years of scraped knees he hadn't bandaged. 9 years of bedtime stories unread. He powered down his phone completely and put it in his pocket. Show me how you want to program the robot. Emma's smile was radiant. For the first time since Sarah had told her the truth, she looked like the happy child she was meant to be. As they worked together, heads bent over circuits and code, Sarah watched in amazement. Emma explained her logic to Marcus, who listened with the attention he'd once reserved for board meetings. When she got frustrated, he encouraged her with patience Sarah had never seen him display. I think I want to get to know you, Emma announced suddenly. But slowly, and you have to earn it. Marcus nodded solemnly. I understand. Good, because I have rules. Sarah hid a smile. Her daughter had definitely inherited the sterling negotiation skills. As they prepared to leave for the airport, Emma hung back while Sarah packed their things. Marcus, she said quietly, can I tell you something? Anything. I used to pretend my daddy was a superhero who was too busy saving the world to visit. But real fathers show up for regular things, don't they? Marcus knelt beside her, his eyes wet. They do, and I'm going to show up, Emma, for every regular thing if you'll let me. Emma nodded seriously. We'll see. As they headed to the airport, Marcus's phone buzzed with missed call notifications. Emergency board meeting, investor panic, company crisis. He looked at his phone, then at Emma walking between him and Sarah, chattering about the robot they'd built together. Marcus Sterling turned off his phone and chose family. For the first time in his life, he got the priorities right. This is a huge moment. What do you think will happen to Marcus's company? And how will Emma and Sarah truly forgive him? Let us know your predictions in the comments. And if this story has touched your heart, please like and share it. 6 months had passed since that day at the Discovery Museum, and the quiet corner looked completely different. Mrs. Lee moved slowly among the expanded shelves, her face beaming with satisfaction. The bookstore had grown from a small neighborhood gem into a community hub. Marcus and Sarah worked side by side at the information desk, a sight that still felt surreal to both of them. He'd bought the bookstore from Mrs. Lee when she decided to retire, transforming it while keeping its soul intact. The back corner now housed a coding station for kids, where Emma often held impromptu lessons for younger children. "Mummy, look!" Emma bounced up to them, holding a tablet. "My story app is working." Mrs. Patel's daughter used it to find a book about dealing with her parents' divorce, and it suggested exactly the right one. Sarah smiled, watching Emma demonstrate the interface with Marcus. Their relationship had grown carefully, like a delicate plant being coaxed back to life. Emma had indeed set rules. Marcus had to email every day, call twice a week, and visit once a month. But gradually, those rigid boundaries had softened into genuine affection. "That's brilliant love," Sarah said. "Why don't you show it to the Saturday reading group?" As Emma skipped away, Sarah and Marcus found themselves alone behind the counter. The comfortable silence between them was new, born from months of rebuilding trust. "How's Rebecca adjusting?" Sarah asked, referring to Marcus's former assistant, who now managed Connect Solutions' external communications. "She's admitted she thought she was protecting me from distractions." Marcus's voice held residual anger. "Turns out, she screened a lot more than just your calls. I missed my father's surgery because she decided it wasn't urgent enough." "Marcus, I'm not making excuses. The buck stops with me. I created an environment where work came before people. I'm lucky I get this second chance." Emma reappeared with Mrs. Lee, who was carrying a beautifully wrapped package. "This arrived for you three," Mrs. Lee announced, setting it on the counter. Sarah opened it to reveal a wooden family portrait frame, empty, with a note, "For new memories. Love, David." Emma traced the frame's edges. "Uncle David is trying to tell us something." "What's that?" Marcus asked. "That we're a family, even if it's a weird one." Sarah and Marcus exchanged glances. They'd been circling this truth for months, rebuilding their foundation one conversation at a time. Emma had been the bridge between them, but recently, they'd found their own rhythm. "Emma," Marcus said carefully, "how would you feel if your mummy and I spent more time together? Not just for you, but for us too." Emma rolled her eyes. "It's about time. You two look at each other like people in movies before the happy ending." Sarah blushed furiously. "Emma, what? I'm not blind. And Mrs. Lee says you used to hold hands when you thought no one was looking." Mrs. Lee laughed. "Guilty as charged. You two have been dancing around each other like nervous teenagers." Before anyone could respond, Emma's favorite customer arrived. Mr. Henderson, a gruff-looking man who came in weekly for his granddaughter's book recommendations. "Emma, I need help. Sophie Rose wants something about kids who invent things." Emma lit up, leading him toward the science fiction section. As they walked, she chatted about her latest app updates and her plans for a youth coding club. "She's incredible," Marcus said softly, watching his daughter with wonder. "She is, and she adores you." Sarah touched his arm gently. "You've proven yourself, you know." "Have I?" "Every day. When you flew to Cambridge 3 times just to see her school play, when you put her on speaker during board meetings so she could hear how business decisions are made, when you traded in your penthouse for an apartment with a guest room, just in case." Marcus turned to face her fully. "Sarah, I need you to know losing you both was the biggest mistake of my life. Not just for what I lost but for who I became. Someone who thought success meant isolation. And now I know success means coming home to people who matter. It means building something that lasts beyond quarterly reports." He paused, gathering courage. "It means being brave enough to ask for another chance. Sarah, not just with Emma, with us, with this family we're building." Before Sarah could respond, Emma's voice rang out across the store. "Mummy, Marcus, come look at this." Mr. Henderson found a book about a dad who comes back to his family, and it has the same happy ending I've been hoping for. They rushed over to find Emma holding a picture book, her face glowing with possibility. "See? The daddy realizes what he lost, and the mummy forgives him, and they all live happily together, with lots of books." Sarah and Marcus locked eyes over their daughter's head. In Emma's hopeful expression, they saw their own second chance reflected back at them. What do you think? Emma asked innocently. Should they get their happy ending? Sarah reached for Marcus's hand. This time, when their fingers intertwined, it felt like coming home. I think, Sarah said softly, some stories are worth a second chapter. Emma whooped with joy, and Mrs. Lee dabbed her eyes with her handkerchief. Even Mr. Henderson smiled, muttering something about young folks figuring it out eventually. As the day wound down, the three of them, for counting Mrs. Lee, sat in the reading nook, sharing stories and hot chocolate. Emma had fallen asleep against Marcus's shoulder, one hand still clutching her tablet with her story app. She's going to change the world, Marcus whispered. She already has. She brought us back together. Marcus pressed a gentle kiss to Sarah's forehead. Thank you. For what? For keeping her. For raising her. For giving us this chance. Sarah smiled. Thank you for staying. For choosing us. Every day, Marcus promised. For the rest of our lives. Outside, New York glittered under a blanket of stars. Inside the quiet corner, three people who'd lost each other had finally found their way home. The bookstore's motto, written in Emma's careful handwriting above the door, felt more true than ever. Where every story gets a chance to begin again. Did you feel that emotional buildup? What's your favorite part of Marcus's transformation? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for the heartwarming final chapter. 2 years had passed since Marcus Sterling chose family over fortune in that museum cafe. 2 years since a chance encounter in a bookstore rewrote 3 lives completely. The wedding took place in the garden behind the quiet corner, where climbing roses formed a natural arch over the couple. String lights twinkled overhead like earthbound stars, and the scent of jasmine filled the warm evening air. Emma stood between her parents, wearing a navy blue dress printed with tiny books, carefully holding the rings. At 11, she carried herself with the confidence of someone who knew her place in the world. Loved, wanted, and secure. Do you, Marcus Sterling, take Sarah Louise Hayes to be your wife? Mrs. Lee asked, her voice trembling with emotion. At 81, she'd insisted on officiating, claiming she'd been waiting 40 years for this moment. I do, Marcus said, his voice clear and certain. Through every story, every chapter, every word on every page, Sarah laughed through her tears. Those are very specific wedding vows for a tech mogul. I learn from the best storyteller I know. Emma giggled, stage whispering, kiss her already. The crowd, David and his new fiancée, dozens of bookstore regulars, coding camp kids, and even some Cambridge colleagues who'd flown in, erupted in laughter. I now pronounce you a family again. For real this time, Mrs. Lee announced. Marcus, you may kiss your bride. As they kissed, Emma raised her hands in victory. Finally, I've been planning this wedding since I was 9. Dr. Elizabeth Hayes, Sarah's mother, dabbed her eyes. She'd flown in from Vermont, initially skeptical of the man who'd hurt her daughter, but won over by watching him read Where the Wild Things Are in 5 different voices to Emma. That child orchestrated this entire thing, she murmured to David. She gets it from both sides, David replied, taking his sister's hand. The Sterling ambition and the Hayes stubbornness. As the evening progressed, guests moved between the bookstore and the garden. Emma held court near the coding station, demonstrating her latest creation, an app that helped children process big emotions through interactive stories. I call it feelings and fiction, she explained to a group of fascinated adults. When you're sad, it suggests books that help you feel less alone. When you're angry, it finds stories about characters who learn to channel their feelings. I've been testing it with kids from my school. Marcus watched with pride as his daughter presented her work with the same passion he once reserved for board meetings. The difference was, Emma's innovation came from empathy rather than ambition. She's going to change the world, he murmured to Sarah, as they swayed together during their first dance. She already has. Look around. Marcus did look around. The bookstore had become the heart of their community. Coding classes ran beside poetry workshops. Business mentoring sessions happened in the same space as toddler story time. Languages mixed as families from different cultures shared books in their native tongues. Most importantly, it was home. Their apartment upstairs provided space for all three of them, plus guest rooms for visiting family. Emma's room overlooked the garden, where she could watch the sunset while working on her stories. "Remember when you thought success meant conquering the world?" Sarah asked softly. "Now I know it means creating a world where love can grow." As the evening wound down, Emma found her parents sitting in the empty bookstore, shoes kicked off, ties loosened, just talking quietly among the shelves. "Was today everything you dreamed it would be?" Marcus asked, pulling Emma onto his lap. "Actually, it was better." Emma snuggled against his chest. "Because in dreams, you know they're not real, but this." She gestured around the bookstore, at her parents' hands still intertwined, at the flower petals scattered on the floor from well-wishers. "This is real. This is ours." Sarah kissed her daughter's forehead. "What's next for the Sterling Hayes family?" Emma grinned. "Well, I've been thinking about expanding the coding program, and Mrs. Lee mentioned wanting to write her own story. She's been in America for 60 years, and she has things to say. Plus, I might need a baby sibling at some point, just for research purposes." Marcus nearly choked on his wine. "Research purposes?" "To study sibling dynamics for my next app, obviously." Sarah laughed, unconsciously touching her still flat stomach. They hadn't told Emma yet that her research opportunity might be coming sooner than expected. As midnight approached, Emma finally fell asleep in the reading nook, surrounded by flowers from the wedding. Marcus carried her upstairs while Sarah locked up the bookstore. Looking back one last time before turning off the lights, Sarah saw the wooden family portrait frame David had given them months ago. It now held a photo from tonight, the three of them laughing as Emma shoved cake in Marcus's face after he'd tried to do the same to her. They were messy, imperfect, and beautifully real. In his apartment above the bookstore, Marcus opened his journal, a habit he'd started when Emma suggested that every good protagonist needs to document their journey. 10 years ago, I thought success meant conquering the world. Now I know it means creating a world where love can flourish. Today I married the woman I should never have let go. Today I became a family with the daughter who saved my soul. And tomorrow we write the next chapter together. He closed the journal and joined his wife and daughter in Emma's room. Sarah had fallen asleep in the reading chair, where she'd been reading Charlotte's Web aloud. Emma was sprawled across her bed, wedding dress replaced with pajamas covered in tiny rockets and books. Marcus carefully moved Sarah to their bed, then tucked Emma under her covers. As he kissed her forehead, she stirred. "Daddy?" she whispered. "Yeah, sweetheart. We really did get our happy ending, didn't we? We got something better. We got our new beginning." Emma smiled sleepily. "I love you. I love you too. Beyond words, beyond code, beyond every story ever written." As Marcus finally settled into bed next to Sarah, she curled against him with a contented sigh. "Any regrets?" she asked softly. "Just one. That it took me 10 years to come home." "Well," Sarah smiled in the darkness, "some of the best stories are worth the wait." Outside, New York slept under a blanket of stars. Inside the quiet corner, three people who'd found their way back to each other dreamed of all the stories yet to be written, together, and they lived bookishly ever after. What an incredible journey for the Sterling Hayes family. Their story reminds us that it's never too late for a second chance, and that true success is found not in what you achieve, but in the love you build. If this story moved you, please show your support by liking this video and sharing it with your loved ones. What was your favorite moment in this entire narrative? Let us know in the comments below. And for more inspiring stories that tug at your heartstrings, make sure you're subscribed to our channel.